All right, so these last few questions are a little bit easier than some of the other ones. Again, don't get caught up in the language. I'm going to try to work through them pretty quickly. Oh, this is the Monday, week 5 ACT talk. The last few questions here, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Here we go. This first one, the length of a box in inches is 3 inches less than twice its width. So basically, if I figure out the equations. Now, these ones are always tricky because you get lost in the verbiage. Well, if you just simply take out, say, the 3 inches part, ignore that for the moment, just go with its length is equal to twice its width. Well, that would be twice its width, so that if the width was 5, well, then you substitute in a 5, so the length would be 10. Okay, but now it's also saying that it is 3 inches less than its width. Okay, so that means whatever you had on its width, you want to then subtract 3. So anyway, those are tough because of the wording, and you just have to kind of roll with it and work with them. This next one, it is incredibly imperative you read this one carefully, and I'm going to actually highlight it here for you. Quadrilateral, that means 4 sides. Okay, quadrilateral means any object with 4 sides. Notice P, S, and Q, R. P, S, and Q, R are parallel. Okay? It doesn't say anything about the other 2 sides. It wants to know the value of x. Now, if you look at that and say, oh, parallelogram, where all 4 sides, opposite pairs are parallel, then yes, x would be 112. Notice that's not a choice. It's not a typo. It's not 120 either. 70 and 112 do not equal up to 180. There's no guarantee of that. Let me change colors here, because this one and this one do not necessarily equal 180, because this may not necessarily be parallel to this. There's nothing stating that in there, okay? So you want to just be careful about that when you're thinking about this. To draw it out a little bit more simply for what are we actually talking about, what you really know is this, or those 2 are parallel, and you have a line. You know that this is 70. Okay, well, if that's 70, then so is that. This right here is 70. That's what you know. And if that is 70, then you know that this angle right here is going to be 70 minus 180. 70 minus 180 is 110. So again, that means that this here is 70. Okay, so that's what you know. So be careful on that one right there. Irrational numbers. This is an interesting vocabulary question. How many irrational numbers are between 1 and 6? Okay, an irrational number is anything that you can't necessarily take the square root of. So these are all those really weird decimals, like 1.333 repeating. That's an irrational number. So is that. 1.4333. So is that. Things that you can't put on a number line. Let me erase this. An irrational number is something that no matter how hard you tried, here's a number line. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I said, where is the number 1, you could point to it. You could say the number 1 is right here. It's right there. There it is. That's it. No matter how zoomed in you got, that's still the number 1. However, the number 1.333, or even a better example, would be the number of pi, 3.14, the number pi, which is equal to like 3.14 ... It goes on forever. No matter how zoomed in you go, you can't actually point to that number on the number line, because you're always right next to it, because there's always another decimal. So that would lead you to, of course, there are infinitely many. Okay, this last question, so we're sort of flying through these ones here. This last question, a typical high school student consumes 67.5 pounds of sugar a year. As part of a new nutritional plan, each member of the track team plans to lower the sugar he or she consumes by 20%, at least 20% off. Assuming the track members are consuming sugar at the typical levels and adhere to this plan, what is the maximum amount of sugar they can consume? What is the maximum that they will consume? Not the amount that they're taking off, but the amount left over. So if you put this in context of more traditional sale product, store purchase sale type thing, maybe you have a product for $10 and the sale is 20% off. So we all would know we're going to subtract $2 and you will pay $8. That's what it's asking you. That's the kind of question. You're going to take 20% off of the price, but that's a more typical one. We're not talking about prices here, are we? We are talking about, we're actually talking about food. So same exact scenario. So you just take your, if you're taking 20% off, well, then that means you're going to be keeping, because we don't know what's the maximum number you're going to actually eat. You're going to eat 80%, right? So what is 80% times 67.5? Well, you do your conversion, so it's actually 67.5 times 0.8. That'd be fine. Or, of course, you could go 67.5 times 20% and then just subtract it. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this makes sense to you. I'll be looking for all of your notes and such. Have a super duper day.